I thought once we broke up, all the problems would be solved. Wrong, wrong, wrong. It's a whole nother journey in itself. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Why Would I Say That podcast. It's your girl Tiara, and today we're back. We're back in the studio. The power is on. Everything is working again. I missed her. If you're new here, I struggle with borderline personality disorder, and for the last few weeks, I have been giving you a little story time about how I was abused for 3 years without knowing. Now, this podcast was not to slander anyone, name drop anyone, to validate me, to tell me that I'm right. It's none of that. It is to help other people in this situation. I was in that relationship for 3 years, but it's taken me over 2 years to even talk about this on this platform because I always think, like, what if I am crazy? What if they were right? What if I can't trust my gut? I can't trust my intuition? What if my perception is wrong? What if I'm being overdramatic? All the things. So I questioned myself so much and even dug myself into a bigger hole by thinking this way. And now I'm finally at a place to realize that just because I have a mental health disorder doesn't excuse abuse happening to me or further happening to me. Just because I'm hurt doesn't mean I deserve more hurt or that I can handle it. Just because I'm emotional doesn't give someone the right to trigger my emotions and then tell me that it's my fault. And those are some things I had to come to terms with on my own, and I don't think anyone could tell me or validate me with. I had to literally believe that for myself in order to feel those ways. And I truly do believe those things now. Do I question it every now and then? Yes, but this was meant to help other people. So if you just came on to this episode and didn't watch the last two, I'm not slandering anybody. This isn't a poor me, feel bad for me, cry for me, okay? It is to help you. But this is part 3 to my BPD was used against me. I'm going to be talking about how I dealt with it after, my thoughts about it after, things that happened after. I'm just going to be talking about all the afters. If you did miss part 1 and part 2, I'm going to summarize this in about 20 seconds as fast as I can. But if you want the full detailed stories, please watch part 1 and part 2 because I do think because this was emotional and mental abuse, it's not one story that you could be able to tell. It's the deterioration of my mental health with what they were doing over time is what made this abuse. So if you do need more details and you're like, what? I don't think that was very in-depth. Please watch part 1 and part 2. But basically, I was abused for 3 years without knowing. I started dating this guy. We were attached to the hip. Basically, the day that we met, he moved in with me, didn't pay rent, didn't pay bills. I got jumped by one of his ex-girlfriends. He was dating a girl when he met me, which I didn't know about, and it is not the girl that jumped me. It's a whole different girl. And then broke up with her for me, which I didn't know until a few weeks later, but I was delusional. I was like, oh my God, he picked me because I'm delusional. He started off by love bombing me, writing me a bunch of notes. Quickly, that stopped. For the entirety, rest 3 years of our relationship only lasted about a week. He made sure to always call me beautiful and give me all these compliments every day, but he also made sure to tell me every single day that I thought wrong and then my BPD made me think wrong. If I had an opinion on something, I'm wrong because people with BPD basically should not have an opinion. He would constantly accuse me of things that I did not do until I would be in episodes and then tell me I'm in an episode because I did do it and my reactions and all that stuff. Ugh. Then about like 1 to 2 years into relationship, I can't remember exactly when this was in the relationship, my cat died, my parents got divorced, and he was being really mean to me. But because I was crying about my cat dying and my parents being divorced in the same day, he broke up with me because it was too much. Reminder, this was all in 24 hours. How would he even know it was too much? But that's besides the point. That was his choice. Whatever. He then told me he broke up with me because of my mental health. He then comes back a month later. Gives me another chance. I think that we're doing great until we go to Vegas together, and then my mom points out that he is trying to make me mad and jealous on purpose. He's trying to get reactions out of me, and my parents have loved him the entire relationship, but after that point my mom has never liked him again, and she said because staying with him for a week made her see the real side of him that she's never seen before, which it was nothing dramatic. It was just situations over time of him making me jealous, him trying to poke and prod at me to make me mad and make me react, which then after that I couldn't unsee it because now my mom's pointing it out to me. But then I decided to move in with him anyways. We moved to a different state. He gets a job, doesn't like the job. We moved there for that job in his dream. He promised me to pay the bills because I couldn't make ends meet in that state. And he promised about a month later, he quits the job. I end up paying all the bills. I'm working 2 jobs. He wants to play video games all day. He then starts using things against me in order to be nice to me. I need help with the bills. I'm drowning. He's screaming at me every day, accusing me of things that I didn't do, getting reactions out of me, all those things. Eventually, I am not physically, mentally, in any way attracted to him. He then starts holding against me because if he can't be nice to me unless I haven't with him. As a woman, I should be providing for him so he can provide for me. What in the backwards world is that? Yeah. So then that all that happened. I then mentally check out. We start fighting all the time. One day I come home from work. All his stuff is packed by the door. He, reminder, does not have a job. He waited till I got home in the middle of the night after I worked both of my jobs. And he says, I needed you to see what you did to me. After me crying and screaming every single day because he's been doing things to me. Not that I've been crying and screaming at him every day and that this is what happened. No, he's made me cry and scream every day and then told me crying and screaming every day is what making him leave. Cool. So then he leaves. And then about a week later, he tries to come back, tries to get back together with me. But because I'm so mentally done, I'm like, no, thank you. I think I just need time alone because I am mentally and emotionally destroyed right now. So I gave him the money for the utilities because everything was in his name. A day later, after I get home, after all I paid all the utilities, my heat, my water, my electric is off on me and I cannot turn them back on because they were not in my name. And if I wanted to, that'd be an extra $1,000 on top of the $1,000, $200 that I spent on rent. And reminder, in the beginning of this, I was financially hurting. I couldn't do it. And he promised me that he would do it because he wanted me there with him. But then he just took all my money. Yeah. And then he still tries to get back together with me after that. But that's where I left off in the story. So if you want to see part 1 and part 2 with detail, go ahead and watch that because there is so much more going on. And there's even details I left out in part 1 and part 2 because this is not about me slandering anybody. It is about me helping people and what I was going through and how I felt during the time. Because during the time, I genuinely could not realize this was happening. I thought all these problems were just problems to get through and it was what made this relationship stronger. I basically left off on when I was deciding whether I wanted to move home back to Ohio or if I wanted to stay in Pennsylvania. And it's after the breakup, so I'm no longer with him. He's no longer there with me, but I had no friends, no family. I was basically completely isolated there and I was just like left there to figure everything out, but I'm drowning and he also turned the heat, the water, the electric, everything off on me, and I thought that it would be better for me to move home. And genuinely, because how I moved out when I was 18, I never, ever, ever thought I would move back home, and it honestly made me a little more angry at him. I basically moved out at 18 because I was in a toxic environment to put myself in a new environment to get better, and then I just put myself in another environment, and now I'm starting back at square one. So, like, I'm dealing with the loss of this relationship with this guy I thought I was going to marry. And now I'm realizing he was abusing me the whole time, which is just to end up back in square one is crazy. And I just felt so bad about myself because then I felt like I was just repeating the same cycle over again. And that's why I ended up back at square one because I never got past the cycle. Me and my parents together were very toxic growing up, but I genuinely was a kid and that was not my fault. So then to go out as an adult to create that same relationship again and then having to move back in to the thing that I was running from really hurt me. Like that really hurt me and that had nothing to do with his fault. It hurt me. It hurt me. And then trying to deal with the breakup of the person I thought I was going to marry was just hard. It was really hard. Like the thing is with BPD is usually caused by trauma, and it can be like neglect, emotional abuse, a big traumatic story. It can be like really anything. But I think the thing that really, really got to me was that I already had BPD from the environment that I was in before. I then put myself in another environment, which I already had BPD, but I feel like that environment could have caused me BPD too. Like this relationship, because it was so like mentally and emotionally taxing and confusing and like running me in a circle, I felt like I was developing BPD all over again. And then I have to move back into the house that made me develop BPD to begin with. Is crazy. And like it just sat with me so weird. And I don't even know where I'm going with this. But it just sat with me so weird. And I didn't like it. This is when I was like still in the beginning phases kind of my social media. Like I was still like maybe a year in to starting. And I genuinely didn't want to post. I thought that my words didn't matter, that I'm moving backwards, that no one will listen to me, that no one will take me seriously anymore because I sat there for the last year saying that this relationship was perfect and that I'm growing and I got out of my toxic environment. The thing is, I never lied while I was making that content because I truly believed that I was in a good relationship with BPD. I truly believed that I did make it out. I truly believed all those things. But then to come home and have to like start over, it made me feel like no one would ever validate me again. I felt extremely alone, and not even validate me again. I just thought no one would get it and they would just discredit everything I say and just be like, well, she's dumb and I can't believe her. And the thing is with BPD, I feel like a lot of us get in that mindset when something goes wrong. We feel like we're starting at square one. No one will take us seriously. No one's going to listen. No one gets it and all that stuff. Like, we just get caught up in that, but that's not necessarily true. Life is up and down. Parts of it are going to be down, and people want to see that. And if I come off from a standpoint of like, I have it all figured out, I'm better than you, people don't like that. So I feel like now looking back, I think it honestly was like almost best case scenario. But when I was going through it, it was like the worst thing ever. I genuinely thought I couldn't be on here talking to you guys anymore. So that hurt really bad. And I'm going to be so completely honest with you because this is about me being transparent. Me leaving that relationship was the best decision I made. It was so relieving when I knew it was over. But in a way, it did get worse before it got better because I was still running off of that relationship and everything that he told me. He would tell me that like no one would ever get me like he does. He would tell me that no one would be as understanding as emotions. No one else would be willing to learn about BPD. No one would be willing to deal with my mood swings. He would tell me all those things. So then right after we broke up and I moved home, I was in this mindset of isolate and fix myself. And it wasn't for him, it was for me, but I was genuinely believing that I was broken and that no one would love me. Like, I still believed some of the things that he was telling me. So therefore I was isolating and I was just trying to fix myself. I was constantly just trying to journal and meditate and do all these things. But in reality, I was alone and I wasn't building any new relationships. I wasn't trying anything new. It was like really not fun. And I don't even know how to explain that. I was still running off the relationship mindset. Like, I was doing everything to please him still, except I don't have to please him anymore. And I wasn't doing, like, I wasn't posting it because we blocked each other on everything. I wasn't like texting him, telling him like, oh, I finally accomplished this, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't doing any of those things, but it was really, really embedded in me that no one would ever get me like that again, love me like that again, or try to understand me like that again. I really believed I was like this evil, manipulative, emotional, just whatever person, and that no one wanted to be around me. So then I isolated and just sat there and just tried to fix it. But if you know anything about isolation, it feels like a loop. It literally just like you're living in your brain. You're telling yourself you need to fix all these things. But the thing is, when you isolate, you can't fix it alone. You need people because you're in a mindset that only you are influencing and in an environment that you can control. So when you're alone, it's easier to control things. It's easier to be stuck in certain mindsets and get caught in certain loops because you're not having anybody to bounce off of or to question your viewpoints. So really, after this relationship, I was still trapping myself in it. I was still like in this relationship without being in it. I'm just in it alone now. I'm by myself. I'm beating myself up now. And it was always drilled into me like nobody wants a girl that goes out, does their own things. Nobody he embedded on me like people don't like the independence. And now I was scared to be like independent and go out because now I'm going to look like a whore because that's what he used to say. Like, oh, they're fast. They're just like this or that. And like, I could just like hear all that stuff like playing in my head anytime I went to go do literally anything because he was very much, again, attached at the hip. So I don't know. I was still like, after the relationship, I was still like very much living to like please him without trying to please him because I didn't want to please him anymore. But I had this idea in my head that like nobody wants somebody like me. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this podcast. Since sharing this podcast and getting to know so many of you, I've realized I'm really not alone. Like the amount of times I've shared something that I thought was embarrassing or too much and someone goes, me too. It's actually wild. I never realized how much we as humans need support, whether that's friends, families, or professional. For me, BetterHelp is that extra layer of support when my brain is doing the most. Therapy has helped me slow down and even break down my thoughts, leading to those breakthroughs and those life-changing moments. Without therapy, I genuinely don't know if this content would exist. Therapy has given me the ability to be more self-aware and actually articulate what's going on with me. As a borderline myself, I want to be real with you. In the past, I've had therapists make me feel like they just didn't get it. And that can be so disheartening and even stop you from even trying. I love BetterHelp because I truly do prefer online therapy. I can set up last minute appointments, there's less cancellations, and I can just switch therapists if the vibes aren't right, all without the wait list and the weird guilt. Especially when you waited months for that appointment. That's where BetterHelp stands out to me. I can switch and message my therapist within a day if I'm looking for a better fit. And that has helped me get the kind of support I've desperately searched for. If this sounds like you, I have been sponsored by BetterHelp to give you 10% off your first month. Use my code betterhelp.com/TiaraLorraine. BetterHelp is accessible to anyone, anytime, anywhere, making help more accessible than ever. Whether you prefer phone calls, text messages, video chats, all options are available so you can get the help that works best for you. Again, that's betterhelp.com/TiaraLorraine for 10% off your first month. Now, back to the episode. I would always cry in my dad's arms and always ask him, like, are we sure it wasn't me, that I shouldn't have stuck it out longer, that maybe I messed up? And like, he would have to tell me all the time that it wasn't me. And we'd always have to remind myself that he took away my heat, water, and electric because he wanted to be petty, that it wasn't me, and there's actual proof to it now. Anytime I would go anywhere because of all this stuff embedded in me, I would get so extremely anxious. Like, I was still dating him. Like, I shouldn't be here right now. Like, oh my God, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I would like constantly question, even if I was just going to lunch with like a friend. I would feel like I'm going to throw up all the time. Even after the relationship, I had so much anxiety still. But in the beginning, I was just completely isolating myself. So when I would go out and do things, I would feel like I'm going to throw up because I'm not supposed to be doing these things. But I had to do the opposite action, feel the uncomfortable for a while, start going out with my friends and doing things. And like, not really even going out because I even still have a hard time going to the club still because of this. Because I'm 24. I can very much go to the clubs whenever I want to. But I just get this like weird feeling now. I used to have so much fun before this relationship. Maybe I've grown out of it, but I do get really anxious still, as if I was like still with him. I'm not saying any of these things are people who go out, okay? This is what my ex used to say, and this is why it plays in my brain, because it's like, oh, you a whore, no one wants you, no one wants a girl that's going out all the time. Like, those play in my brain. So now I'm like thinking that like my next person will think those things, and like the trauma is carrying on. And it sucks. My biggest thing is, if you're isolating and are caught up in this, do small things with people that you are comfortable with, even if you're slightly uncomfortable. But if it's just a lunch, genuinely, what's the worst thing that can happen during a lunch? You get to go home in like an hour or two after. It only lasts an hour or two. Just try to get through it and try not to think about it so hard. Very much easier said than done, because to this day, I still get that type of anxiety and that voice in the back of my head of my ex like screaming at me. But just little by little with things that you're comfortable with. Like, you don't have to go balls to the wall, go out 5 times this week because you've been isolated. No, just try to go out once this week or something. Just stop sitting in the house for months at a time in your own thoughts and then driving yourself crazy like me. I'm generalizing when I say this, okay? I'm very much generalizing. This isn't like true or anything. This is just my like generalization that I've realized over time. I feel like after you get out of a mentally, emotional, or whatever abusive relationship, you either jump right into the next one or you don't date for a very, very long time. And I think there's 2 reasons to both sides. So I think if you jump in a relationship right after, it could do with some like codependency, or you're trying to mask or forget your last relationship and you're not necessarily dealing with it. Then you have the person that isn't going on dates, but they are also not dealing with it. At first, I think it's great to realize what happened, grieve it, work on the things that you want to work on. I think that is ideal. But there is a certain point where if you're getting offered to go on dates or you just haven't been on dates in a very long time, you just might be avoiding them because you're so scared of what happened in your last relationship. And I'm at this point right now where I'm so scared of what happened in my relationship. I used to be a serial dater. I dated back to back to back to back to back to back to back since I've been like 6. I swear to God. I just been holding hands with boys out the womb, okay? I was boy crazy. But this relationship made me do a whole 180. I did not go on a single date until a year after. And like everything on that date triggered the ever living crap out of me. And it wasn't his fault. It was okay, it's not my ex's fault that they triggered me a year later. But like, it's those triggers from my ex that like now play in my brain. A lot of the times now when a guy calls his ex crazy, I know girls can be crazy, but for some reason, because my exes were crazy, I genuinely believe that they were driven crazy. And I almost like don't hear them out because I have this belief. I'm like, oh my God, well that happened to me. So that's going to happen to me again because you called your ex crazy. You're going to drive me crazy, blah, 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 blah. Again, that's not necessarily true. That's just how I feel. I then don't know, which I can't get away with not telling people I have BPD. That's all over the internet. But now I don't know, do I go into dates telling them I have BPD or are they going to use it against me? I go on dates sometimes where a guy might be lacking in a certain area, like maybe they just don't have a car right now or they live at home or something. I'm just like, red flag, it's him again. He's going to use me again. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Like I'm getting all these triggers in my brain when I'm going on dates again. And it's the hardest thing ever. Like it's so hard. I have been on maybe 3 short-lived dates in the last 2.5 years. And this was 3 different people. Because after I gave like the first one a chance, they gave me a red flag, I'd run. Second one gave me a red flag, I run. Third one gave me a red flag, I run. I just run. I'm not waiting to see if the flag is going to turn green. I don't care if I'm trying to see if I'm colorblind, because I'm pretty sure I am colorblind with the flags right now. I'm not trying to figure it out. I am running. And that is not like how I used to be. Like, and I'm kind of glad. I am kind of glad that I'm like this, but there's a certain degree where like it does become toxic. But I've always tried to make the red flags green. I would always try to fix other people. I would always just be like, well, there might be one red flag, but like, it's fine. But now I also feel like I'm not giving people like leeway, benefit of the doubt. Like we're human. People mess up. People are going to have red flags. There are certain things that are supposed to be looked past. And I don't know. I'm running from these people because there truly is a red flag, or if I'm running from these people because I'm traumatized and I'm hurt. Because I don't know. I literally just don't even know what's happening right now. Like I feel like my brain is confused and broken. It's not confused and broken, okay? I've been healing from this for a while now, but it's still confusing, and that's how I feel sometimes. Like genuinely to this day, I do kind of feel confused and like my brain is broken. But again, because it's been so long, I don't necessarily believe that. Like I just think I'm working on it, and over time it is getting easier. Because if you've been following this podcast for a while, you guys have known I've been isolating myself and been lonely. It's something I've cried about on this podcast a few times now. But I did tell you guys a few weeks ago that I am going on this date with this guy that is actually really, really nice. He took me to go see a play. He's already taken me to my favorite restaurant. He's taken me to my favorite speakeasies because they're like hole-in-the-wall dive bars because I don't like clubs. I like to just sit and talk and just go home at like early. Like he's just been very respectful and kind, and we've been taking things very, very slow. I still haven't even been to his house, and I've been on like 4 dates with him, but I do have this fear. And I also, to be transparent, and I also know he watches my podcast, and it's literally your fault if you hear this right now, I have this fear that I'm not ready, that I haven't healed it all. And honestly, because I gotten so comfy being alone, I don't want anyone to mess that up. Like I was so broken after that last relationship. I don't want to have to rebuild all this again. I really don't. And I swear to God, if this person breaks me, it's going really, really great. But I'm just very scared that I have to rebuild everything again. So I am nervous that I might sabotage this. I just have to take it day by day and see what happens, because honestly, like, you never know. There might be something like really red flaggy about him, and then I don't even have to worry about whether I ran from him or not, because I was justifiably running. So you never know what could happen, but I don't know. My brain is still a little messed up from that relationship. But I did learn so much from it, because we got to look for the silver linings. Like, love that about BPD. We get traumatized over and over again. And it's just like, just look at the silver linings. But I had so many takeaways from this relationship, although it was toxic. Like, you should be careful about who you're vulnerable with your BPD with. I do think you should be able to tell anyone and everyone that you have BPD, because I think, not so that you can use it as an excuse or be like, I have BPD and I act like this and I act like that. I don't think that's what it should be used for. But I do think it is important to tell somebody on how you operate if something ever does come up. But I think it's important about who you tell and who you're vulnerable with. There are some people in this world that do take advantage of people's vulnerabilities. And people with BPD can be very vulnerable. So it's important to be careful about who you give that information to. I wouldn't even say careful about who you give that information to, because you can't be manipulated unless you let them, which I'm not saying you let people manipulate you. Like, it's not what I'm saying at all. But I think you can tell anyone and everyone, but when you start putting your energy all into this one person that wasn't safe enough to tell, that's when it becomes an issue. Because I mean, I told everyone on the internet that I have BPD, and it's not really an issue. It's if a person that I'm deeply invested in makes an issue, that's when it's an issue. So I feel like, be careful who you're vulnerable with and how much energy you put into that person if they aren't, like, I guess, the best person to have that information. Something else that I've learned through this relationship was boundaries are not mean. They are necessary. I wish I would have stood my ground so much more on certain boundaries, because there, again, were so many stories that I left out. But I always felt mean when I was setting them, but I realized they probably could have saved me a lot of hurt. When people see that you don't draw a boundary, they cross those lines. And I'm a big believer is once somebody crosses a boundary once, they will do it again and again and again because you allowed them one time, and that is not your fault. But boundaries are not mean. They are necessary. The biggest takeaway that I want anyone struggling with this to know: BPD is not wrong. Borderline personality disorder is not wrong. It literally takes a human with a brain to understand that BPD is caused by abuse and trauma. To tell someone that they're wrong for something that happened to them and how their brain protected them, that's wrong. To emotionally abuse someone that's already emotional, or to tell them that their emotions are wrong when they went through so much trauma and abuse, that is wrong. BPD is not wrong. There may be times where you handle your BPD wrong, but BPD itself is not wrong. BPD itself is not manipulative. BPD itself is not abusive. All those traits are traits to a human, not a disorder. You will never read a characteristic in BPD from a scientific one, not somebody's opinion. You will never see a scientific thing say people with BPD are manipulative, abusive partners. Oftentimes, you will see people with BPD were manipulated and abused. And yes, there is a saying that is, the abuse becomes an abuser, but that is not a promise. You do not have to become that. It comes down to the person. BPD is not wrong. Would you ever look at someone and tell them that autism is wrong, schizophrenia is wrong, ADHD is wrong, depression is wrong, anxiety is wrong? All those things are wrong when those are literally just human emotions. And I feel all those emotions the same way, just in extremes. And it really does matter on how I relay that information. That is what determines on what kind of person I am, not what kind of BPD I have. BPD is just BPD, and it is not wrong. It is how your brain coped with terrible things that have happened to you. And don't ever let anyone try to justify them hurting you with your disorder, because your disorder was caused by hurt, and they are furthering that by hurting you and using your BPD as an excuse to hurt you. Now you got worse BPD, which I don't even know if that's possible. BPD freaking sucks. But yeah, I just want you to know that I'm still actually going through this with you. I still get triggered. I still struggle. I'm still going through this with you. And sometimes even after the relationship ended, like things still came up. Like I did say that we never, ever, 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 ever talked again after that. And we didn't. But there was a time where he broke no contact. And which is that one viral video where I'm shaking and crying in the car like, oh my God, he broke no contact. Because it triggered the ever living crap out of me because I didn't know how to go about it. And I know that like once I'm in a trance, and I will be like, oh, I'm delusional. You were right. So like it was really scary when that happened. And the craziest part was this was a year after we broke up, and he texted me telling me that he got a new motorcycle and he's glad, with quotations. And if I can find the text message, I'm actually going to put it right here because it really pissed me off so bad. But he's like, I'm glad you got your mental health in check. And like, for some reason, like that triggered me so bad. And like, I just will never, ever, ever go back. But I still struggle with it. And like the thought process, even knowing that he's wrong and that what he did to me was wrong. But sometimes I still question it. Like, I really, really do. I'm completely over him. I will never go back to him. Just like he left a mark on me, that's for sure. But as of now, we're in no contact. We've never talked again. We don't follow each other on social media. I probably will never run into him again. I actually just found out he's having a baby. Oh, actually, fun fact, this got left out of part 2. At the very end of our relationship, he asked me to have a kid with him because it might fix it. I'm glad I said no. I hope that girl that is having his baby is doing okay. But yeah, so all is well. I don't think I'll ever talk to him again. He's starting his whole new family and everything. Good luck to them. Hopefully he's better. Maybe he learned from our relationship or whatever. But it left a mark. And it's just crazy to me that he's starting a family. And I'm still sitting here like, I'm still unlearning stuff. What? But I'm like not hard on myself about it because I genuinely believe like life has its own pace. I don't think I'm behind because he's starting a new relationship. Maybe I'm ahead because I decided to take this path and you're taking your own. And I don't even think there's a behind or ahead. I don't even really compare myself to him anymore. I just found out that information not that long ago. I was just like, wow, I'm still dealing with this and you're doing that. That's crazy. I am over the relationship. I never want him back. I think he's ugly now. I don't even see the appeal anymore. It's just like all the fear and like the trauma is like stuck in my body and I don't even know how to explain that. But yeah, that's how I was abused mentally and emotionally for 3 years without knowing, and the aftermath and all that stuff. So now we're finally done with the sad topics. Very excited about that. I just feel like it was finally time for me to talk about it, especially because I think it's important because there's so many people going through this and it's really hard to talk about because it's like he said, she said, no one wants to air out somebody and like hope that they never see it or like cause more drama. I genuinely don't think this will cause more drama because I'm very level-headed about it. At least I think I'm being level-headed about it. But it's just really, really hard. And I don't think it's talked about enough, at least in this detail. So yeah, finally ready to talk about it. Finally at an emotional point where I'm not getting emotional anymore. And I really do hope this helps somebody and I wasn't just throwing dirt on an anonymous person because I didn't give a name. But I've said it before and I'll say it in every podcast episode. If you know somebody going through this, reach out to them. It's just nice to hear from somebody, even if they don't respond when you're going through this. Like, it's just nice to know that the door is open. I do understand how hard it is to be on the friend side of this, but it is so hard for the friend to be so alone and to think that they're in a corner. But again, I do know that like your mental health is top priority versus everyone else. I'm speaking to each and every one of you right now. Whether you got mental health or don't got mental health, your mental health is top priority. So like, don't let somebody else affect yours. But like, also, if you do have a friend going through this, let them know that the door is open if you can, if you're in a place to, if you mentally can handle it, because it is so nice to know that the door is open and you never know what opening that door can do for somebody and how much you can change someone's life by doing so. People need people, and that is a hill that I will die on. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to give this a big thumbs up and to subscribe so you're not missing an episode every single Friday. And same thing if you're listening on podcast, give me a 5-star rating along with a follow on this podcast because it helps me reach the people that need this information. And I'm not just yapping to people that don't care. Also, Feel free to leave down any future story times or any content ideas that you want to hear from me down below. I want to make this podcast more like personal, more like a FaceTime call, more fun. So if you have any ideas, please, please, please let me know. I got the ideas a turning, but I would also like to know what you want to hear from me and what would be helpful to you or what would just be fun. Any and all ideas are welcome. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Again, thank you guys so much for being here and for understanding me and getting me. If it weren't for you guys, I don't know if I'd be willing to share this. I get so many comments all the time telling me that I saved them, I helped them, that I get it. But like, you guys do the same for me. Like, those comments are literally just letting me know the same thing, that I'm valid. Somebody hears me, somebody gets it. And like, this is two ways. I know that I'm not hearing you on that end of the FaceTime call, even though this is very much a video, but like, this feels like a FaceTime call to me. And those comments always let me know that like, I'm not alone. I am very much in your shoes. This is a two-way street. And if it wasn't for you guys, I would not be here. Like, I love you guys more than anything, and you guys mean more to me than anything in this entire world. And I mean that with my entire freaking heart. I spend so much time on creating content because the one thing that I've ever been passionate about, has ever stuck to for years, and something that has actually meant something to me on days that I didn't even want to do it. Like, I cannot thank you guys enough. You guys have saved my life. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I love you guys more than anything in the world. Thank you guys for watching, and until next Friday.